Yeah, first, good job on breaking some new ground in the cross-class, so nice job there. But could you talk a little bit more about what's persistent across platforms versus going to be unique to each platform? Because you talked about save games, you talked about in-app purchases not being sequenced. So I wonder if you buy a sword in one level, do you get to use it when you kind of switch platforms?
Yeah, you do, the kind of that is only functional right now. Well, it's functional on all platforms, but it's only released right now on iOS and Android. But the idea is that using GameSpy Cloud, you'll be able to actually take that onto PS3 and PC without having to worry about copying the file manually. We don't want people to have to try and browse their phone's file system to get the data, and that'd be hack-esque and not really viable for most users, especially on iOS. So GameSpy Cloud is the mechanism to seamlessly allow the user to access that data. As soon as they log into GameSpy, it's going to be, here's your saved data, it's saved on the cloud. But right now, between iOS and Android, it's viable simply by copying the data manually.
Yeah, I had a question about, you said on Android that the app was free, and then there's a freemium aspect, and then on iOS there's a pay to download. Is that correct? I was wondering what your download number differences were between those two platforms, and then what the, say, in-app purchase or profitability per download.
Sure. So it's about 5 times as many users, I think, for the free app on Android versus the pay app on iOS. Maybe 4 times. I think there's about 1 million users solid on Android.
Yeah, pre-installs.
Yeah, well, we're not counting pre-installs. The game on Android was pre-installed on some devices, like the Motorola Zoom, but I think in terms of the non-pre-installs, it's about 1 million. And then on iOS, I think it's around 300,000 or so, so maybe 250. So 3 to 4 times downloads for the free version versus the pay version. The interesting thing, though, is in terms of in-app monetization, it's about 1-to-1, I think. I think there's about as much monetization on iOS as there is on Android, regardless of the app being, costing a few dollars itself.
And so while people may not be, there may be some price resistance in terms of paying for an app initially on the Android, you're not seeing that breaks down when it comes to in-app purchases?
Once you get them in the door, they seem to spend just the same amount of money.
Okay.
Good work. My question relates to your licensing the Unreal Engine. Obviously, usually Unreal doesn't come much cheaper than $50K for every downloadable platform. Obviously, you go on a lot of platforms. How did you try to deal something that would not make you pay almost $2,000K?
Well, Dungeon Defender has actually done quite well between all the mobile platforms together, so we could afford an Unreal Engine 3 license. That said, Epic Games will tend to, if you're interested in a license, you can contact them, and they may do particular deals for particular developers in each case. So for us, we were able to find a way to license it that didn't bankrupt us, and it was a good investment for our company.
I was wondering how keeping your game code and assets synchronized between platforms works for you.
That's an interesting question. That was a challenge that we found a technical solution to do. The technical solution was we had per platform media overrides. So all platforms share the same base media, and then we wrote a little modification to Unreal that would let us, say, override a particular asset on a particular platform. And then we had a level of granularity to it. So we could override an asset just for all mobile devices, that would include Android and iOS. And then if we wanted to push it further, we could override the asset just for iOS or just for Android. And that had to be done for things like character meshes, had to bone count and poly count to be as low as possible for mobile, and even entire levels, in fact, to reduce number of detail meshes throughout the environment. But they all start with the same media base, so that it's still a unified, say, media and code repository, but with specific branches on specific assets that were necessary for reasons of performance and optimization.
So it's
still has the different branching for the different code paths for Android?
So the code path branching is pretty much just if else. If mobile do this, else do that, or else PC do that, else PS3 do that. We try to stay away from that. Most of that kind of branching is just on the input side. Like I said, we try to make just about everything else as abstract as we could.
So it's just a fairly affordable code.
Yeah, and even furthermore, we try to mostly do if mobile, not like if iOS and if Android. And really, we would only do that where there was no way to further abstract something. It would be like, hey, look, we're either using a touchpad or we're using a gamepad, so we need to handle both cases.
You kind of touched on this, being cross-platform, and not just being available on multiple platforms, but actually having one user be able to use multiple platforms and still have the same experience, definitely has magic to it, and definitely gets people, into the game and talking about it. I think that's awesome. Have you seen any evidence of people actually using that and going from mobile to console to mobile? And if so, what direction seems to be the most popular?
Well, we're not out on console and PC yet, so as we're seeing evidence of it, we can't exactly say that, but as seeing people who really, really are looking forward to it, we see it every day. People that I can't wait to bring my mobile character over to PC. People throw an uproar, they're like, I better be able to do this or I'm going to be really upset. And people make fun of people for not being able to do it on Xbox. That's something we often have to moderate on our community, is like, guys, please stop poking fun at Xbox users, and there's a little infighting there. But it definitely seems to be something that the community is entirely ready for. It's not something where it's not like there's a few people who really want it, but it's like everybody is excited about it. I think people who have consoles have phones now, so.
What I think has also been really helpful is those million plus Android and iOS users, we're going to turn them into PC and console users, and it allows us to kind of push them in that direction, which is good for our company financially.
Awesome.
Yeah, I guess just an addendum to that, we get a bunch of people who say, oh, this game won't even work on my Android phone, but it looks like so much fun, I can't wait to play it on PC or PS3 or something. So.
Hey guys, this is really exciting what you're doing. Just to clarify on the fact that I can have the game on multiple platforms, are you doing it so that if I buy it in one place, I get it in the other, or do I have to separately buy it in each place? And kind of how you're dealing with the services and the fact that you're cross and how you're tying the different users across the different services?
So I kind of hinted at that before. It's just really messy. There's basically no way around it. I think if you've seen recently when Valve released Portal 2, and if you bought a PlayStation copy, you got the PC copy, but if you bought the PC copy, you couldn't get a PlayStation copy, because they would have had to pay Sony a licensing fee for every single PC copy, which they weren't going to do. So it's kind of, we have the same issue, so we can't bundle it per se right now. We have no way of doing that, but we hope users will purchase it on multiple platforms, and a lot of them seem ready to. They certainly don't seem angry at us that they have to purchase on multiple platforms.
And in terms of the service, at least if we're talking about the online services, GameSpy is really the connecting tissue there. If we didn't have that, we would not be able to provide a consistent experience, a unified online experience. And so, because otherwise everything's fractured, you'd have PSN, Game Center, and nothing on Android. We don't have to worry about any of that because we have GameSpy and that works on all the platforms we're interested in.
So when the user gets into your game, regardless of what platform, they also have to have a GameSpy login as well?
If they want to play online. Okay. And there's, of course, a button to create one inside the game. It's a free thing, of course.
All right, well, if the GameSpy thing's optional, then that changes my question a little bit. But I was going to say, if you have GameSpy in common everywhere, could you not have a bit there that authenticates them and then just sell basically a flag on GameSpy and then just download it free everywhere and then, of course, log it to get your save files? So if you want to play it without syncing save files between platforms, you can do that for free. Otherwise, you have to purchase a license and do it on GameSpy.
It's certainly feasible, but I mean, we have a lot of people. I mean, like we said, a big feature of our game is local multiplayer in addition to online multiplayer. So an ability for two people to play on one system versus and 2 people on another system. So if 2 people want to play on their computer, 1 person on a keyboard and 1 person on a controller want to play with 2 mobile people who are at their house, it was important that all of those mixes were there to us, and that would eliminate a lot of that. I mean, people wouldn't like to purchase 2 licenses per device.
I just want to clarify too, I think I sussed something out of your question there. Like GameSpy isn't charging anybody for any of that stuff. So like you, the end user, aren't paying us for that service. Trendy got a license from us for free as independent developers. The price point's being kind of dictated by the fact that they have to sell it on the platform, or else they have to pay the platform a license out of their pockets.
Quick question regarding in-app purchases and the multi-platform. Do you have any concern that Apple or PS3 will decertify you if people are, say, shifting over to their PC version of the game to make an in-app purchase so they don't have 30% going to Apple? Is that a concern?
Well, like we said, right now on PC, we aren't planning to support in-app purchases at launch. That may be added in later. And I sincerely don't think it will be an issue.
You are correct, though. Theoretically, you could do an in-app purchase on Android right now and then take that data over to iOS and thereby avoid having to do the in-app purchase on iOS. Hopefully Apple doesn't find out about that.
Probably too late.
Yeah, I don't think they would have a serious issue with it otherwise. They don't seem to have any reservations about us having cross-platform play or really any other games having cross-platform play on it.
Do you have any difficulty getting platform-specific features like trophies or like Join My Friend who's playing the Steam game, getting that integrated with the GameSpy?
So it's not too difficult for something like achievements because that's basically an arbitrary API call. Hey, unlock this achievement ID. Friends list is something that we haven't yet implemented, and that is pretty important. That's on the to-do list.